a John Wick-inspired action comedy, Angelina Jolie fending off deadly assassins, and the story of a real-life outlaw. Max is loaded with some seriously underrated action films right now. Many films on this list were met with a fairly harsh critical reception upon their release. Maybe they would be met with more warmth now, in an era oversaturated with $100 million CGI-reliant intellectual property projects. Regardless, these same movies are often worth watching because of the cast involved, as is the case with the 2014 crime drama American Heist. The adaptation of the 1950s classic, The Great St. Louis Bank Robbery, stars Hayden Christensen as James, a down-on-his-luck criminal who owes the sum of his meager life to his brother and fellow criminal Frank. When Frank is released from prison, he forces James to turn his back on his normal, law-abiding life and his girlfriend Emily to once again become a criminal. Despite the emotional and moral complexity inherent in the film's premise, the general consensus among critics is that the script is simply too generic to deliver on this promise. This sentiment, combined with the film's low budget and extremely limited theatrical release, is likely why many viewers have probably never heard of this film before. In hindsight, however, the joint talents of Christensen, Adrian Brody, and Jordana Brewster make it a unique viewing experience that shows often overlooked actors, elevating a story beyond what it might have been without them. In science fiction comedy Attack the Block, John Boyega stars as Moses, a low-level street criminal whose life is changed when he tries to exploit an alien invasion. Playing opposite him as his victim-turned-ally is Jodie Whittaker, who later went on to star in 3 seasons of Doctor Who as the titular British sci-fi icon. But unlike American Heist, there's much more to enjoy about this film than its stars. Despite bombing at the worldwide box office, Attack the Block was released to critical acclaim. It is arguably the most widely beloved film on this list, and yet it has failed to achieve anything close to the same sort of cultural prevalence as, for example, the sci-fi action comedies of Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy. This may change in the near future, as Boyega and Cornish are set to reunite for a sequel that's currently in development.
I've got to finish what I started.
If some of the entries on this list already are a bit too modern in their settings for your taste, you may want to travel back to the age of pistols, horses, and outlaws found in Blackthorn. It stars the late stage and screen legend, Sam Shepard, as a fictionalized version of the real-life Old West outlaw, Butch Cassidy. The story begins with Shepard's Cassidy, now in his 60s and living as James Blackthorn. Having survived 2 decades in Bolivia, the aging criminal is trying to recover his stolen wealth so that he could return to America to mourn the death of the Sundance Kid's lover, Etta Place. Blackthorn drew positive reviews from critics, but in the US, it failed to make a major impression. For viewers who like to see the action genre rooted in grounded speculative fiction, Max is currently streaming the 2014 crime thriller Brick Mansions. The film takes place in the then not-too-distant future of 2018. A section of Detroit, Michigan is so besieged by violent crime that the government decides to build a massive wall around it in order to keep the situation contained. Fast and Furious star Paul Walker plays a familiar role here, as an undercover police officer who attempts to infiltrate a volatile criminal underworld by ingratiating himself to an outlaw with a good heart. Tragically, Walker died in a car accident just months before the film was released. With regard to his upcoming projects at the time of his death, the impending debut of Brick Mansions was almost entirely overshadowed by speculation as to whether or not Walker had finished shooting Furious 7 before his passing.
Thanks for that. That's great.
Wow.
The film itself was also likely hurt by a tower of poor reviews, which largely criticized the plot for being incredibly ridiculous. That being the case, there are still plenty of people that enjoy or even prefer action films that are heavy on combat and light on logic, especially when the premise mostly serves to facilitate spectacle while reflecting real-world issues. Directed by Rick Roman Waugh, Greenland film follows a family as they and the rest of the world learn that a supposedly harmless meteor shower will make unexpected contact with Earth, wiping out much of the planet's population. When patriarch John Garrity learns that there is a bunker in Greenland capable of protecting him and his family from the event, he decides to risk everything to get them to safety. While most disaster films tend to depict a group of people merely experiencing and attempting to survive some unpredictable event, the clear objective at the center of Greenland's story paves the way for more direct conflict. This, by extension, results in more personal sequences of action and combat than one would normally expect from a movie where the enemy is a bunch of rocks flying through space. Unfortunately, the film's release was delayed by the COVID-19 pandemic, with distributors eventually settling for a video-on-demand release in December of 2020. Even so, Greenland wound up killing it on Amazon Prime Video, earning positive reviews and becoming one of several pandemic-era sleeper hits. Fresh off of Key and Peele, comedians Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele co-star in this riff on John Wick, in which a stolen cat named Keanu drags the duo into a complex criminal underworld. However, despite many fans and entertainment outlets interpreting the film in this way, based on its trailers and marketing, Keanu actually has nothing to do with John Wick whatsoever.
Keanu!
Peele and director Peter Atencio had been working on Keanu before John Wick was released in 2014. When they found out a film starring Keanu Reeves and featuring beloved pets and vicious criminals was being made, they even wondered if their idea had somehow been taken from them. In reality, the two films are barely the result of parallel thought, sharing little in common beyond very broad aspects. Even though Borderlands turned out to be a boring slog through the wasteland, video game adaptations have a pretty good track record these days. Based on EA's racing franchise Need for Speed, features a rare performance from Aaron Paul, who has mostly steered clear of leading man roles ever since Breaking Bad ended in 2015. In this film, he stars as a washed-up race car driver whose unique skill set helps him profit from and ultimately seek vengeance within a dark criminal underworld. Though it was far from the highest-grossing video game adaptation of all time, the movie did bring in a tidy $200 million at the global box office against a budget of $66 million, with almost 80% of its haul coming from overseas markets. This has even led to some speculation that, despite bad reviews, we may yet see a Need for Speed 2. Tell is one of the shortest and simplest movies on this list, which would make it the perfect option for anyone looking to turn their brain off for a quick cinematic adventure. It stars Milo Ventimiglia as the title character Ethan Tell, a not-so-quick-witted robber who hopes to turn his fortunes around by stealing a fortune of his own. Unfortunately, his mark just so happens to be Ray, played by Jason Lee, a powerful criminal in his own right who also happens to be the brother of Tell's wife, Beverly, played by Katie Sackhoff. It's essentially a low-budget Quentin Tarantino-flavored action thriller, bolstered by a cast of mostly sitcom actors giving their all to play against type. In addition to Ventimiglia, Lee, and Sackhoff, Tell features Faison Love and The Office alum Oscar Nunez. If watching this grab bag of talent chase each other around with guns sounds like a stupid good time to you, it's more than worth taking a chance on it. Though delays and theater restrictions due to COVID-19 played a massive role in preventing Those Who Wish Me Dead from finding an audience, Warner Bros.' decision to release all of its 2021 films in theaters and on the streamer formerly known as HBO Max also played a role. While this did help subscribers eager to see Angelina Jolie's action-packed collaboration with Yellowstone architect Taylor Sheridan, it also may have buried the film by presenting it as just another option in the studio's vast library of films and television shows. Theatrically, it had one of the worst box office openings in history, at the time outmatched in its financial underperformance only by the pre-COVID Blake Lively thriller, The Rhythm Section.
I need your help to find the ones who did this. I've got nothing to lose.
Suffice it to say, Those Who Wish Me Dead never managed to find the wider audience it might have enjoyed any other year, which is a shame as it was one of the best action films to come out in 2021. It features Jolie as a firefighter haunted by her work, who finds herself caught in the Montana wilderness. stuck between a deadly group of assassins and their targets. The visual and dramatic scale of this film can't be overstated, to the extent that you may find yourself wishing you could have experienced this explosive story on a massive screen. But as is true for every film on this list, it's better to find the film now in the wilderness that is Max's streaming library than to miss out on seeing it for good. Shane Acker's science fiction epic 9 is an animated feature that combines the grim, techno-dystopian themes of The Matrix with the whimsical and dark fantasy elements of a Tim Burton film. It's set in a post-apocalyptic world where civilization has been entirely wiped out by monstrous machines created by an advanced artificial intelligence. Amidst this chaos, however, the same scientist who originally invented the AI managed to also create 9 ragdolls called Stitchpunks. Each one is imbued with sentience via a piece of the scientist's soul, and together they are tasked with overthrowing the machines. 9 was a bit of a tough sell when it was first released, as it was a high-concept animated fantasy film directed squarely at older teens and adults rather than children. Acker originally crafted it as a short film and had hoped to expand upon it further in sequels, thereby offering alternatives to the decidedly light and family-friendly features offered by Pixar and DreamWorks. Unfortunately, the initial reception to 9 was mixed, and it effectively bombed at the box office. The film was still praised almost universally for its unique visuals and commitment to tone, and for fans of action movies specifically, it has some of the most ambitious action sequences of any CGI animated film ever made. If you're looking for a movie night option that packs in plenty of high-stakes action while still entertaining the entire family, Max is also currently streaming the 2003 spy flick, Agent Cody Banks. Starring Malcolm in the Middle's Frankie Muniz and Disney Channel star Hilary Duff, it riffs on the classic secret agent tropes of the James Bond franchise by mashing them together with a teen comedy.
Need any help? No, I'm fine.
Cody is a high schooler who has a double life as a secret agent working for the CIA. With a criminal mastermind on the loose and the fate of the world predictably on the line, the young spy must infiltrate an elite preparatory school and gain the trust of Duff's Natalie. Agent Cody Banks mostly flew under the radar, failing to make a noticeable impact with regard to either box office numbers or critical reception. Many reviewers felt that the film didn't meet the standard for a major theatrical release, instead evoking a tone more similar to a Disney Channel original movie. That said, it's a brisk 100-minute film that's just too plucky and charming to truly hate, and packs a bit of an extra punch compared to other teen comedies.